Become a Patreon of Java today and receive a ton of perks including Discord roles, early access content, private support channels, code snippets, and more. Join today at patreon.com/javajs.
Alright, what is up guys? My name is Zil from Java. Today we're gonna be drawing markers. We're gonna be teleporting ourselves with these markers, and I'm gonna be showing you the logic on how this all works out. So before we start, we have the warps. This is the resource name. It'll be in the description below if you want to follow along and code along. So first off, I'm gonna go in my server folder. I'm already here. I'm gonna go into resources, and I'm gonna be creating a folder called warps, or the resource warps. That's what it's gonna be called. You can call it whatever you want if you're following along. Then yeah, so I'm gonna open this in VS, and we're gonna be creating a file called fxmanifest.lua. Yeah, this is the equivalent of resource.lua, but they decided to change it. So I'm gonna start off with fx_version Bodacious. I spelled that right, yeah. Then games is GTA 5. And then we're also gonna want to do the client_script. We're gonna be creating a folder called source, and then we're gonna take everything in that, make it all the Lua files in the source folder. So let's make the source folder source. Here, I'll zoom this in for you in case you wanted to see. So, or I don't know why I call it source. It's supposed to be src. So yeah, in our source folder, we're gonna be creating three files. So the first one is locations.lua. This will be our static content. So in fact, I'm not gonna write this along with you guys. So I'm gonna copy all of this in here, and this is how the structure is gonna work. I'm not writing this along with you guys, but I'll tell you what this is later when we parse this information. But pretty much, we're gonna have the position at which the marker is at, and then when you're in the marker, it'll TP you to this new position. You can have submarkers. I made a scale, the color of the marker. And in case you don't know what markers look like, I'll open this reference right here. It's like these things on the floor. You'll see them, or floating slightly above the ground. But you see them in GTA Online and sometimes in FiveM. So we're gonna be doing this kind of stuff. So let's get started with that. So we created the locations.lua. We're also gonna be creating the loop.lua. So we're gonna have a constant loop, and we're also gonna create one more file called notify.lua. So in the notify.lua, we're actually gonna be creating a function called notify. And we've done this before in other videos, but they've actually changed the notify kind of function. It used to be something else, but now it's begin text command the feed post. I'm gonna make sure I spell that right. Yeah, so that's a native, and it's gonna be string. And then the other one is add text component substring player name, and I messed up that E there. So it's add text component substring player name, and put the string in there that we have right here as a parameter, and then we're gonna do end text command the feed post taker true, and then false. And if you can, in case you want to see what this native is, or where I got this from, I got it from this website right here, the native reference, and you can see that in the Lua, or in the example, they kind of changed it, and it just makes this little notify thing. It's different from what it used to be, so this is the new way of writing it. And I'm gonna make sure I spell that right. I did. Alright, so this will be notifying when we're inside a certain radius. We'll be using this function, and since they're all sourced together, it'll all work out. So yeah, let's go ahead and go in the loop.lua. So let's start off. Since it's a loop, we need to make everything in a citizen.create thread, and then a function, and then we need to end the function just like that. And so we have in this function we're going to do while. It's going to be a loop, so while true do, and then end, and then what we want to do in here, we're going to do, we have to wait so it doesn't crash. Citizen.wait. I'm just going to make it wait 1 tick, and then we want to, so what we're doing in here is we're going to loop through all of this data constantly. So we'll be drawing markers at each of these locations. So this locations is a table, so we can iterate through that table using for I is equal to 1, and then we'll be using the length of locations, comma 1. We iterate by 1, and then we want to do, and then end the for loop. So now we're going to be creating an object of which we are iterating through. So to do that, I'm just going to call this object LOC is equal to locations of I. So if we're at the first iteration, locations of 1, that'll be equal to this object, or this table entry if you say it right here. So, but we want to iterate through I, so we're just going to do that. And so now what we want to do is we're going to do DrawMarker, which is pretty much like the highlight of this video. DrawMarker. This is a native, and it has a ton of parameters. It's going to be kind of annoying to type out, so I'm going to be doing it like this. So the first parameter is the marker type that you want. So I'm going to be using lock.marker, and if you see, marker is 23, and yeah, I said that right. So the marker is 23, and you get this number by getting the numbers right here. So 1, 5. If we look at 23, was it? 23 is right here, and it's just going to be a horizontal flat circle on the floor. So that's what we have for 23. And we also have a submarker, which is there's no such thing as a submarker. I call it a submarker because we can put a marker inside of another marker, which, so you can have like a marker, and then you can have like a $sign on top of it, or like a plane on top of it, symbol, and just so it like looks nicer and you get more customized availability right there. So we're gonna do lock marker. That's the type we have, and then we have lock.position.x. So you could see lock the first iteration, and I'm just using the first iteration as an example. So position.x is that. So it's gonna be, we're gonna have to copy this 3 times and then change these to x, y, and z. And the next 3 are actions. We have to do minus 0.75, just because I had it like that. It must be some sort of tweak. And then we want to do 0.0 comma, copy and paste that a ton. I'm going to paste that exactly 6 times. I'm pretty sure you can actually search this native up and see all the funny little parameters, because it has so many. And right here you can see what this really means. So direction X, you can actually rotate it. I'm going to keep it simple. If you want to tweak with that, go ahead with those next 6 parameters, but you don't keep them 0, because I don't really care personally. Here, I'm going to put that back. So yeah, once we have those 6 zeros, we have to do the scale now, because there's the next 3 parameters. So I'm going to do lock.scale. As you can see, I scale it out to be 4 times its original size. So yeah, and then lock.scale again, and then lock.scale. Okay, and then now what we have to do is in its thing, you can see that we did scale X, Y, and Z. Now we have to do RGBA for the next 4 parameters. So the next 4 parameters I've actually defined in this locations file. I don't know if I made it clear before, but all this code here is available on the GitHub in the description below in case you needed it for some reason, or you want to use it as a template. So the RGBA, we have to do lock.rgba. I'm going to copy this actually. So we have to do, oops, one. Actually, there we go. I'm going to paste that 4 times because it's RGBA. So we get the second, third, and fourth. So you can see right here the first is R, the second is B, third is green, and then the last part is the alpha value, how transparent it is. If you want it to be maximum, I'm pretty sure it's 255. But I made it like a little transparent. So now the next parameters is false, comma, or false, true, 2, nil, nil, then false. And let's see what these are. I don't remember. So this is bob up and down. You could see what all these parameters do if you want to change it. But these are like pretty much like the default. I don't really care, so I just made that whatever is the default. So just like so. And now what we want to do is we're pretty much done with that native. And so it should be at constant, it should be drawing the markers at these locations, but now we want to do the sub marker logic. So now what we want to do is, since we're done with that native, we're going to do if lock.submarker. So if the submarker table or object is not nil, or if it doesn't exist, then we want to draw marker. And I'm not actually going to be rewriting all of this out. In fact, I'm just going to take all of this and just kind of copy that. First rule of coding, a lot of people do that. But I'm just going to copy that and take that because I'm not going to rewrite it. But pretty much what this is it's the same thing as what we did up here. This is really messy. Hold on. There we go. You can see that a little better. But it's doing the same thing, but it's just going to be a little smaller because I divided the scale by 2, and I'm using the same position, but I'm using a different z value because z is elevation on the axis in GTA. So I have a defined position z right here, so we can make it float above the marker rather than right where the other marker is, and you'll see how that works in this video. So yeah, that's pretty much what this is. So if there is a submarker, so if we have submarker defined, like in here, this iteration, this table part, we have actually no object submarker defined, so it'll just skip through it. And now what we want to do is we have the end statement. I'll put that down here. So now that we're going to be doing the logic and getting in here, so I'm going to do local, or what I meant to say, we're going to be doing the logic behind when we are inside the submarker. So if we are in its radius, it'll do something. So to do that, we're going to do local. We have to get the player's chords every tick. So player chord is equal to get entity chords player head ID as a native. These are both natives actually, and false. So this should return a vector, and if we do lock vector or local vector, I meant lock vector is equal to vector 3, which is a native, and then what we're going to want to do is just take in the position, or it is lock.pos. So just like that, we're going to kind of plop that in there. And now what we want to do is now this is the actual logic. So if we are inside of the circle or radius or whatever the draw marker is, we're going to do something. So if vdist, capital V, vdist 2, we're going to be taking the hypotenuse, or the distance actually, I guess it is the hypotenuse, but we're going to be taking, or this native takes the distance, it calculates the distance between two vectors, three-dimensional vectors. So what we want to do is actually type in the player chord. So we're getting the distance between our player chord and the distance between that vector that we already previously defined, which is where the marker is. If that is less than the lock.scale times 1.12, so if it's less than its own scale times a factor of, or multiplying by 12% of itself, then we will do whatever. But we also want to have one more condition here, which is important. And get vehicle ped is in as a native player ped ID, and then false. And then if it equals to 0, then we will run the code in here. So this is actually code that runs when we are in this when we're in circle or whatever, in markers radius. So if the distance is below the scale times 1.12 or 1.2, then it should be that. And if we are inside of a vehicle, if we are not inside a vehicle, then we will also run it. So we can't teleport when we are inside a vehicle. So now what I'm going to want to do is we're going to be using this TP2 object, which is also a vector. So we're going to be doing SetEntityCoords. That is pretty much like the teleport command, you say. So player pet ID, we're going to be, or this native requires SetEntityCoords, and then the player pet ID right there. And then we also want to type in the next three parameters are the position, so lock.tp2.x, and then we're going to want to just paste that 3 times. So this is going to be z, this is going to be y, and then the next ones are true, 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 and then false. Man, I'm really bad. You can search up what these next parameters do. I don't really know. I don't have it written down in my reference, so I'm sorry. This is what the native is called. So we're going to teleport them. We're going to set their entity heading. We're going to make them face 0 degrees or 0 radians. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's degrees in FiveM. Yeah, it's degrees. And we're going to make them face 0 degrees. And then we're also going to notify them. Right here, there's notify.lua. We're going to be using this function. We're going to notify them. A string. So you have been teleported to location. We're going to make this in blue text. That's how you do it. We're going to be joining this string by the iteration number. So we're going to be teleporting to whatever number or part this is inside the FiveM, or inside the table itself. So we're going to be doing that. So that's pretty much it for this. We're going to run this and see how this goes in game. Okay, so I obviously made a mistake right here, or right here, citizen, I spelled citizen wrong. So I'm going to restart warps now. Restart warps. Should be working now. Oops, let's see, I also made another mistake. Vector3 had 1 type. Oops, man, I'm really not good. So actually I'm gonna copy this just because I don't have that much time, but vector3 has 3 parameters. We're gonna be taking in x, y, and z of position, so I messed that up. It requires 3 arguments. So I'm gonna restart warps, and there we go. Again, you have to make 3 parameters for vector3, because x, y, and z. So now what we have is the 3 parts here. So we have a car, and you can see that car is probably this one, because or I don't know, it's like this one. But you can see if I go into the radius of here, it should teleport me somewhere. There we go, I teleported, and it says right here you've been teleported to location 3. So I'm gonna kill myself real quick. And I'm going to go back to, you can see that this is what DrawMarkers are, and you can see the submarker is that little $sign, and then the submarker here is that little car sign. And there's no submarker here, so that must be the second iteration right here running. So it should teleport me somewhere, as because I defined this TP2, so it should teleport me to those coordinates. Once I go in its radius, you can see it teleports me to somewhere else. And you can see the last one here. If I go into the radius of the $sign, I should be teleported to Sandy Shores, I guess. And you can see it teleported to location 1, just like that. And so yeah, hold on, let me kill myself again. I'll go back there. If I go here, I don't even know if I went to this one, but you know, if you're in the radius and you're in a car, then it won't work. So thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you learned something today, and you know, subscribe, become a Patreon. Thank you to the Patreons too, and sorry for these mistakes. Remember, these need to be 3. X, Y, and Z are the 3 parameters. I messed up on it, and also correct me on citizen, the spelling of it. I'm sorry, and I hope you guys enjoy the video, and goodbye.